My name's Dave DeBoe, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Hey folks, Dave DeBoe here. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever wanted to get into bigger deals and syndications, but it's kind of that catch-22 situation where you don't have much experience, so it's hard for people to pay attention to you, and it's hard for you to get experience without people paying attention to you. So you're kind of caught in that, where do I go? How do I get started with syndications phase? Well, today's special guest, Carter Linton, is zooming in from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Carter has found a really good way to get himself into the syndication space, starting from a dead stop and jumping in with both feet. And I believe at this point, Carter, if I'm not mistaken, you've got you're involved in one or two deals with over 130 units in them. Am I on track there?
One deal, yes, sir.
One deal. Awesome. Well, hey, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
I appreciate it, Dave. Thanks for having me.
All right. So first things first, Carter, give me a big picture snapshot of what you're doing in the syndication space these days. What does the portfolio look like? What are you focusing on as kind of your special skill set that you bring to the table as well?
Yeah, so at this point in time, I've been focusing a lot of my efforts on the underwriting portion of multifamily real estate investing. We look for value add deals. So what I have been doing is sourcing those deals, networking with brokers, and if something looks like it has some potential, diving into the numbers, using my mechanical engineering background to kind of leverage that side of things and dig into the numbers and bring them to some more experienced partners to take a second look and who can help with the asset management side of things, capital raising side of things, and going that route.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, especially based on your background. You're a number crunching kind of guy. That comes easy to you, unlike some of the rest of us, where it's a little bit more challenging, that's for sure. So, but Carter, I get a lot of people have a challenge, especially getting into syndications. Like, okay, how am I going to get these brokers to take me seriously if I haven't done a deal before? How do they know that I'm serious? I'm not just a tire kicker. So I mean, now you've got a bit of a track record, but initially, what were you doing to get these guys to pay attention to you?
Yeah, initially for me, it was all about educating myself and kind of learning the business from a high level and understanding
Yeah.
the lingo. Because a lot of times with brokers, what I found is there's a very specific way that they talk about deals. So for me, it was just kind of understanding the way that they talked and getting on the same level as them, same page as them, being able to speak in the same language that they do, and having that immediately builds credibility, even though you don't have, a huge track record. The other thing too is, aligning myself and networking with people who have a lot more experience than what I do, so I can kind of pick up some things from them and get that tribal knowledge that, I haven't had the opportunity to learn myself in the real world yet, and kind of speak on their experiences a little bit, and kind of use their partnerships as a track record that I can leverage,
Yeah.
obviously with their permission and everything. But that's kind of been a key for me as far as building those relationships and not sounding like a complete newbie.
Good point. So let's rewind your memories because it's been a couple of years you've been in the space now. Those first few calls that you were making to brokers, what did you learn from that, or did you jump kind of right in and you're pretty good with the lingo right off the get-go?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, first couple of them were extremely nerve-wracking for me. As I mentioned, I'm from a engineering background, so didn't really have, the extroverted mindset that it really takes to pick up a phone and do cold calls.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it was definitely nerve-wracking, but once you kind of adjust your mindset to where it's just talking to another human being on the phone, right? It kind of takes a little bit of the nervousness away from it, and just repetition. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. And at this point in time, for me to pick up the phone and call a broker and ask about a property is just second nature.
Well, I guess if we kind of zoom out a little bit and look at it objectively, you're basically calling a salesperson, asking them about the thing they're trying to sell.
Hmm.
So, so it's not like you're an encyclopedia salesman from many years ago trying to stick your foot in the door and convince somebody to buy your crap. It's you're trying potentially to buy what they have for sale. So I would imagine that typically they're fairly open to having those conversations. Would that be fair?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially if you're asking the right questions, you get them fired up because it's what they do for a living. They're passionate about it, so they'll pretty much spill the beans on whatever you want to know.
Well, I would hope, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what it's all about. So, what have been some of your biggest learning experiences going through that? Now, I'm sure you're hundreds and hundreds of calls in.
Hmm.
What would be some tips you'd have for a newbie Carter that's just starting to make those calls?
I would say try to build on that relationship as much as possible as well. Don't just make it a transactional call, right?
Okay.
Try to build on that by, having them go out to coffee, take them to coffee and build that relationship in person. I know with COVID, people kind of got used to just sitting behind a phone or sitting behind a desk, which definitely serves its purpose. But for me personally, nothing really beats going out and having a cup of coffee or a beer with a broker and actually building that relationship and becoming, more than just, hey, he's my broker. It's actually developed into a friendship with a lot of these guys, which is definitely key.
I like that. That might be the title of this episode is Beer with Brokers.
I've have done that many times and it definitely definitely works out
It
well.
lubricates the whole conversation, doesn't it?
Mm.
That's my kind of networking, Carter.
Yep.
That's awesome. Okay, now very, very good. And I'm assuming, but coming from your engineering background, not being super extroverted naturally,
Hmm.
this is a bit of a learning curve for you. What do you find works best to keep in touch with these brokers long term? Like you got that initial call, maybe the initial coffee meeting or beer with brokers meeting, whatever that looks like. What do you do to kind of keep things rolling after that?
Just regular communication. For me, I've got a CRM that I put, all of their information into,
Yeah.
and then make sure that I'm touching base with them on a regular basis. If
By
it's
email, by phone, by text, what do you usually do?
both
Yeah.
typically email is kind of the one that I gravitate towards
Yeah.
most, for brokers that aren't in my market.
Mm.
Brokers that are in my market, on the other hand, typically have a little bit better of a relationship, so I'll text them or give them a phone call, ask them if they want to meet up. But I would say the biggest thing is just regular communication with them, making sure you keep it warm with them. That way, if there is something that pops up that they think may be a good fit for your business model, you're top of the mind.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. I was talking to another syndicator not very long ago, and he's doing something really smart as well, and that is he's starting to do these 2 hour cocktail parties, which
Okay.
sound like a lot of fun. And somebody wrote a book about it called the 2 hour cocktail party. But basically, it's a great idea. You have this at your home or wherever. It doesn't need to be super fancy, and you just invite a fairly small group, so 10, 15, 20 people max kind of thing, all coming together, ideally from a little bit of different backgrounds. So some of your broker buddies, some of your fellow real estate buddies, some, other people from other areas, get them in there. And then it's not really salesy at all. There's a whole format to how to do it, but it's very, very relational. It does a great job, especially for introverts, of being able to connect with people and kind of be the belle of the ball as the host of these kind of things. So you might check that out. That I read the book. I really enjoyed it. That's on my list of things to do. Believe it or not, I'm kind of introverted myself. Um, one of the reasons I love the podcast, it makes things a lot easier as well. But
Yeah,
there's
definitely. Well,
Yeah.
you'll have to link me up with that book. I'd love to read it.
Yeah, man. Again, I think it's called the 2 Hour Cocktail Party. Literally, that's the title.
All right. I'll be looking that up right after we get off the call.
Yeah, no, no, but I love what you're doing there. Good advice there. So Carter, you're now into the syndication thing. You can now officially call yourself a syndicator because you've done it. What are your plans for the next year or two? Where do you see things going from here?
Yeah, so the plan here for the next couple of years for me is just to continue sourcing deals, and also trying to build upon the capital raise portion of the business.
Mm,
With multifamily syndications, it's all about adding value, right? Adding value to the property, but then also adding value to the team. On the first deal that I was involved in, I was only able to do a small portion of the upfront work, just because the minimal experience that I do have at this point in time.
yep.
So continuing to build on those opportunities that present themselves, and networking with people in my local market here and elsewhere that aren't really familiar with syndications, and kind of exposing them and educating them on how powerful of an investment model it can be, and trying to build that side of the business as well.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So, have you had any experience with the capital raise side of things or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
I just shifted my W-2 career into the sales realm. I'm a sales engineer at this point in time, so kind of transitioning over and building those sales skills in my W-2, and then going
Mm.
to take what I'm learning there and apply that into the real estate side of things.
Oh, that'll be huge for you. Yeah, for sure. Actually, that person I was interviewing, that's was a big part of what they were doing that whole 2 hour cocktail party thing about was to connect with potential investors as well. So that could be another tie-in that works in nicely there.
Yeah,
Awesome,
definitely.
Carter. Well, hey, you're off to a great start. You're doing great things. If people want to connect with you and find out more about what you're up to and talk shop when it comes to real estate and syndications and underwriting and capital raising, where should they go? What can they do?
Yeah, the best way to reach me is on LinkedIn. You just search Carter Linton, and I'll pop up.
Very good. Well, hey, Carter, there's been a lot of fun. Thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody, take care, and we'll see you on the next episode. Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now, at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.